Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Thursday, January 8th, 2026. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. In today's episode, in our cover story segment, we'll hear from Variety's Daniel D'Addario. He's delivered us an incredible profile of the one and only Jodie Foster, and it goes deep. She really opened up to him on a number of things in a rare, in-depth interview with this Oscar-winning artist. And Mark Malkin brings us a Just for Variety red carpet rundown from this week's Golden Eve Gala tied to the Golden Globe Awards. Sarah Jessica Parker and Helen Mirren celebrated for their long careers and their good works in the world. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Paramount isn't giving up the fight. David Ellison's studio continues to press to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. It has doubled down on the argument that its offer to buy the company is significantly better than the offer that Warner Brothers has agreed to with Netflix. Analyst Laurent Yoon of Bernstein & Co. says Paramount needs to go higher than $30 a share if it wants to pry WBD out of the arms of Netflix. The Television Academy has created a new kudo called the Legacy Award. It will honor TV programs that have made a profound and lasting impact on audiences and remain relevant to society, culture, and the industry, end quote. The Academy is keeping its options open on when it will hand out this Legacy Award. It might be presented during the Creative Arts Emmy ceremonies, or the Emmy telecast itself, or the Television Academy's Hall of Fame ceremony, or the Televerse FYC event that the Television Academy launched last year. The Pit will be back for Season 3. That's not a shocker at all, but congrats to Noah Wyle, John Wells, and company. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. And now it's time for conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. Now we'll hear from Daniel D'Addario, Variety's chief correspondent. He details all that he learned after spending quality time late last year with Jodie Foster. His fabulous cover story was published January 7th in print and online. Dan D'Addario, thanks again for joining me.
Thanks, as always, for having me.
Well, you always deliver great profiles, but you really outdid yourself with this one, and you had a heck of a subject. And after reading this story, Dan, I really came away knowing a lot more about somebody that I have immense respect for. So again, kudos, because it's hard to deliver profiles of very well-known people.
Very well-known people and people who don't speak very often. Jodie Foster is from a past era of celebrity where she's not on social media, for instance. She's not constantly in one's face. And so there was a fear factor on my part, the part of the journalist, wondering, will she give me anything? Will she be open? Will she want to talk? And happily, she did. She's a very thoughtful person, and I think she was using the interview to help process what's been going on for the last 15 or so years of her life, during which time she took about 10 years off acting. And now she's back in the mix, she's acting again, and is she thinking about, okay, where am I now? How have I changed? How has the world around me changed? It was an interesting conversation.
So many threads here to pull on, but the thing that really stood out to me was her relationship with her late mother, who was, by all accounts, a true quote, momager, end quote. And usually that word is used in a pejorative sense of a mother that's really pushing their kid out on stage. And she, as befitting Jodie Foster, she completely goes against the grain, zigs where everyone zags, and talks at length about their relationship. Yes, Brandy did push her hard and pushed her to do things at a very young age. Jodie Foster seems to have absolutely no regrets, and in fact expressed deep, deep love for her mother. When she started to expand on the relationship with her mother, who passed away in 19, what did you detect from her body language? Did you get the sense that she was really trying to make a point about her life and who she was and who her mother was?
I think a lot of people look at a situation like Jodie's in general and think, something's not right here. Being pushed into child acting by one's mother has a lot of cultural associations around it. digging a little deeper, her most famous role that she played as a child was as a child sex worker. I'm a parent of two young daughters. Encouraging them to take that role would probably not be a choice that I would make. But what was interesting about the way she described it, she spoke with such warmth about her mother, with such evident affection. And before I could even ask, she kind of preempted the question and said, Taxi Driver might seem a little out there. You have to understand, she knew who Martin Scorsese was. She followed his early career. She wanted to push me to make art. She never wanted me to be exploited. She wanted me to have these artistic experiences because they could be broadening. She referred to her mom as kind of using Jodie as a vicarious instrument, were her words, because her mom had all kinds of ambitions for herself that weren't fulfilled. But those ambitions weren't make a lot of money, buy a nice car, buy a mansion. Those ambitions were have artistic experiences, learn, grow, see the world. And Jodie got to do that. And so is she ambivalent about certain aspects of her life in public and her relationship with her mom? She was upfront about that. But there was a real warmth, a real affection to the way she described her.
I came away so happy that she
Right.
had a good relationship with her mom.
I mean, this whole thing, her new movie, she's acting in the French language. The reason that Jodie is fluent in French is because her mother at a young age said, you need to learn French so that you can go work with the French New Wave. Like, that's not the action of a momager who's just trying to cash in. And that's affected the entire arc of her life as an artist and as a thinker and as a really intelligent person who studied French at Yale.
Another big theme in the story is that she had to leave Hollywood and leave the business to fall back in love with making movies and now making TV shows. How did you get the sense of her processing that now that she is back in the thick of things with TV projects and new films?
I wonder if people realized that she took a break, because even when she was very active, she was not an in-your-face celebrity. So what's interesting is that around the time she turned 50, she tells me in retrospect, she was feeling as if she was kind of losing herself. Her marriage had ended. Her mother's health problems were a big drain on her. And she just was sensing that it was getting to be less and less about the art and more about kind of being a fixture in Hollywood in a way that she wasn't comfortable with, in a way that she'd never been before. And she said to herself, like, I will keep working to fulfill the artistic side of me, but I need a break from being a forward-facing figure. She barely acted for 10 years. She devoted herself to directing TV shows, Orange is the New Black, Black Mirror, House of Cards. She was finally ready to come back 2-3 years ago, having had that time to process out of the spotlight. Her kids are now grown. Her mom passed away and she's been able to process that. And she is now back in fine fettle doing more interesting work than she's done in decades. Her new film, A Private Life, is absolutely terrific, risky, intriguing work that holds up against the very best of her work from decades past.
A Private Life is a very apt title for another big thread of your conversation, which is she is not an in-your-face celebrity. You're never going to find her on a reality show, but I got the sense that she's wrestling with that for the profession and for the folks coming up.
She really feels as though something's been stripped from us that's not coming back, which is the ability to kind of recede.
Another thread that's in your story that's around that time that she turned 50 was the very well-remembered speech that she made at the 2013 Golden Globe ceremony, where she received the Cecil B. DeMille Honorary Award. And it was a very unusual speech that caught people by surprise. She was revealing things about herself that she hadn't said publicly, but she still did it with a level of reserve, so much so that there was a lot of interpretation of what exactly did she mean. Here we are almost 13 years later, and anybody with any questions needs to read this story because she really does spell out what she meant. That must have been gratifying to you as she spoke, because as a fan of hers, I know you remember that moment. It was a very big moment for the LGBT community, and that must have been exciting when you heard her expand on that.
Absolutely. It was one of the main things I was curious about, because just as we say, her speech immediately preceded her long break. And so it was the lasting image of her burned in the retina for years after that. And it was a very enigmatic speech. She told me it was purposefully enigmatic because she didn't want it to be turned into a soundbite. She didn't want it to be Jodie Foster comes out. She wanted it to be elusive, to engage the listener without giving away too much of herself that could be commodified by other people for other ends. And hearing her talk about it, I walked away with even more respect for someone I already respected a great deal. Using a platform like that to allow the audience in, but on one's own terms, it was a moment of connection on her terms. So I was something I'd been very curious about, and I was thrilled to get the chance to discuss it.
On top of everything else, Dan, she looks absolutely amazing. She looks happy and confident and strong, and we both know that radiates from within. And it's a treat to see somebody that we all respect seemingly being at a great place in their career and their life.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, you have set yourself a high bar, but I have no doubt that you will rise to the challenge of your next cover story.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I really encourage everyone to check out the photos. This is the joy of working at a print magazine. It looks stunning.
And shout out, as always, to our wonderful art and photo team. Your interview, even if it had no photos, would be amazingly revelatory. But when you can marry it with the incredible images that our team produces, that is chef's kiss, and that's variety. And now, here's Variety's Mark Malkin, who connected with Sarah Jessica Parker on the Golden Eve red carpet.
Thanks, Cynthia. Sarah Jessica Parker isn't exactly saying no to more Sex and the City, but she tells me it's all up to one person, Sex and the City's director, writer, and producer, Michael Patrick King. I caught up with Parker at the Golden Globes Golden Eve, where she was honored with the Carol Burnett Award.
I hear lots of very original ideas, all lovely and well-intentioned and often very clever. But the only thing that really matters is, what excites Michael Patrick King. And right now he's just not thinking about that.
She also talked about the much-anticipated sequel to The Family Stone, the 2005 Christmas comedy drama starring Parker, Rachel McAdams, Claire Danes, and the late Diane Keaton.
Bittersweet in the loss of Diane, but it was a very special group of actors, and prior to Diane's passing, we had been in conversation with everybody, and so I hope that we'll all be able to.
Also honored at Golden Eve was Helen Mirren with the Cecil B. DeMille Award. The evening was filmed for a primetime special premiering tonight, Thursday, January 8th at 8 p.m. on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. The 83rd Golden Globes will air on Sunday, January 11th at 5 p.m., also on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. And make sure to check out Variety's Red Carpet Pre-Show, hosted by me and Angelique Jackson. It all kicks off at 3:30 p.m. PT on Variety.com, Variety's YouTube channel, and Fire TV. For more of my interview with Sarah Jessica Parker, find out what she says about Hocus Pocus 3, check out my column just for Variety at Variety.com.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. We're in the countdown to the Golden Globes. On Friday, Variety will host an invitation-only party to celebrate our Actors on Actors franchise as part of the larger Golden Week celebration leading into Sunday's awards. On Sunday, don't forget to tune in to Variety.com at 3:30 p.m. for our annual Golden Globes Red Carpet livestream, hosted by our very own Mark Malkin and Angelique Jackson, as Mark just told you. It will be a lively affair with fun surprises. And you'll also see Mark on CBS's live telecast of the Golden Globes, as he'll be doing color commentary segments on the winners. He'll be backstage with Entertainment Tonight's Kevin Frazier. And coming up on Friday's episode of Daily Variety's companion podcast, Strictly Business, we'll bring you highlights of Variety's 2-day summit at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Among the many panels and sessions we hosted, we got a sneak preview of the new AMC network dramedy, The Audacity, which is set in Silicon Valley. You'll hear our session with stars Billy Magnuson and Simon Helberg, and we'll also have my conversation with a true digital media pioneer, Roku founder and CEO Anthony Wood. We love to hear from our listeners, so please send thoughts, gripes, and other feedback about Daily Variety to podcasts@variety.com. Before we go, congrats to Quinta Brunson. The creator and star of ABC's Abbott Elementary will receive the Variety Showrunner Award at the 14th Annual SCAD TV Fest in Savannah, Georgia. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Daniel D'Addario and Mark Malkin. Stick, snicks, hick, picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in Monday for another episode of Daily Variety.